My name's Cameron Sang and I'm a volunteer marine mammal medic with Project Jonah. Project Jonah is a charity first and foremost, which really focuses on the protection of marine mammals, be they whales, dolphins, orca, really specialising in providing trained volunteers or medics when there's a stranding. Marine mammals, other than seals, when they get stuck on the land, they're helpless pretty much, and in a lot of cases without human intervention a lot of them will die, and unfortunately we've seen globally a lot of harm being done to these animals with people with great intentions but not with the technical skill or knowledge to actually save them efficiently and effectively. One of the first things we have to do when we're doing a training is contact the police and other authorities that we're doing the training at a specific location. In the practical session we have a life-size and a life-weight imitation whale, a pilot whale, and life-size and life-weight training dolphin. And we get to use the equipment that is used at an actual stranding. So these are lifting mats, pontoons, inflatable pontoons. In the water, PJ, our training whale, looks pretty realistic, only, in the water only about this much of him, or her actually, is above the water. We've had instances where a tour bus has come to a screeching halt and people have charged down the beach thinking it's a real whale. It gives us a good chance to tell the public about what Project Jonah is about and what we do. It gets a really interesting reaction. Strandings can happen anywhere at any time. We know that pilot whales migrate through the Cook Strait in January or February, so there's an increased likelihood that there will be a stranding, and I know the Department of Conservation and the locals in the area are extra vigilant, but really it's a matter of I'll get a text message to say, are you able to come down? Yes or no, and I'll drop everything as much as possible to get there. This is sort of my Project Jonah specific gear. Of course, the high-vis vest, which is, we've only had these for about 5 years I think, which are really great for identifying the medics at an actual stranding. I love it. I've got various wetsuits depending on the weather, and at a multi-day stranding I need a couple of wetsuits. One of the things that I was involved with last time, I was a lot on shore and I needed different sort of equipment, so I've got a belt which will have like a first aid kit and various equipment which I might need on shore. I've got the booties, which after the first stranding I had those really cheap aqua socks, but being out in the water for 5 or 6 hours they were useless, so I'd rather wear these or actually normal shoes. There's this dry pack, which if I'm out on the water I'll take this and fill it full of, I'll put food in here, I might put an extra jacket, and I'll put my hydration bladder in there as well, because at Farewell Spit usually it's a long walk to go back to shore if you run out of water. My latest acquisition is this great little collapsible bucket, which means it's compact, it will hold enough water but not too much to make it heavy to carry. I'm yet to try it out, so hopefully the next stranding, or I might even try and use it the next training. The core of any strand bag has to be the old sheets. The sheets are used to keep the whales or dolphins or orca cool during the day. When these are over the animal and are wet, they will remain cooler for a lot longer. So I've just got the old sheets, throwing them in the bag, and away we go. I was on the bus going to work, and I actually saw on the internet on stuff, I think it was, that there was a mass stranding. I was told, hang fire, just wait, we'll see what needs to happen first. They're on their way, they'll assess the situation. Getting down to, well, it's actually up to Farewell Spit, is a real commitment. It would take, we're looking at 12 hours to get there. So I spent the morning not doing much work, and by lunchtime I said, no, I'm going to head down. We're really fortunate to be sponsored by the Inter-Islander, and they allow medics to get down with a vehicle and back again for free if there's a stranding. It's made it possible for me to attend the last 2 strandings, that sort of sponsorship. We took a ferry about 3 o'clock in the morning, picked someone up, another medic from Petone Station, someone I hadn't met, and poor thing, she was waiting at the station at 3 o'clock in the morning with a suitcase with, drunks coming home from Wellington. We got there about lunchtime on a Saturday, and we were told, look, the refloat is happening, so we weren't able to get out to the whales, so they had enough people, but they needed people to help coordinate the car park. We had people streaming in, hundreds of people streaming in. It was a phenomenal response. So I spent a good 3 hours or so just directing cars. Not exactly glamorous, not what I'd trained for, but an essential part of the operation nonetheless. I did that, and then I was told, look, there's been another stranding further along, and they wanted me to take a crew of people to get to that. There were about 60 or 70 whales on that one, and Farewell Spit as a bay is really flat, so they stranded quite far out, which was good for the whales, which meant they had more time to get out when the tide came in, but bad for us because we had to walk a good couple of kilometres out from shore. We spent about 4 hours with those whales. Unfortunately, as night was coming, we all had to leave the whales there. We did what we could with the time we had, got as many of them upright and comfortable, and we had to leave them to let nature take its course. Hopefully they would, when the tide came in, they would swim out. That's probably the hardest part of the stranding, and in the evening when you can't do the refloat. But that's part of the training that we have to understand, that the Department of Conservation won't allow people out there at night, especially at a mass stranding, but getting the community volunteers to understand that was really tough. People were in tears when they were told that they had to leave the whale that they'd been working with for 3 or 4 hours. And then the next day there was another stranding with another 60, I think, and I think that was the most intense one for me. It was so close to shore, it was right on the shore, so it meant when the tide came in we had probably about 20 minutes to get the whales refloated and out. That was a really tough one, and I was asked to coordinate between the Department of Conservation staff on land and everyone in the water. When I first arrived, the first day, people were arriving and either wanting to just go out with the whales and that's it, or they were needing help themselves. They wanted to know, they didn't have enough water, for example, they needed to know where to get water from, or food, and things like that. But by the second day, it was the other way around. People were realising that weren't necessarily needed with the whales, but there were other things they could do. We had people who didn't have wetsuits, and they set up a kitchen, and people were donating food, and these people were cooking for whoever. People from all over the world were coming in, just lending a hand, and just doing it for a common goal, just to help the whales. I didn't really get emotional until we successfully refloated them, and there was a karakia. You can imagine I was up to my neck in water, the whales were swimming out, and this amazing karakia just went everywhere over the water, complete silence except for the whales singing and the karakia, and I just completely lost it. And fortunately no one was around me, and there was water splashing in my face so I could hide my tears, but I just completely lost it. And that every time when we do a successful reflight and there's a karakia, I lose it completely, absolutely. On the second day, or really the third day of the stranding, we had well over 1,000 people that had come to wanting to help out. And in a lot of the cases, it's a matter of, yeah, you just have to wait. There's nothing to do at the moment. We have enough people. You need to wait. But having 1,000 people on a reasonably small area with, I think, 3 toilets and limited access to running water, and only one way in and out is a logistical exercise in itself. So some of the work that we do is actually about controlling people as well as the animals. At a mass stranding there will be a number of animals that don't survive, regardless of how much we try and help them. There will be animals that don't survive. It is tough. It is something that has to be, unfortunately, accepted. It's really a personal thing. We have volunteers who are the people you would probably expect to be involved with something like Project Jonah. We've got veterinarians, we have marine biologists, we have nurses, we have vet nurses, all sorts of people that are interested in either health or animals or the marine environment. But it's also from an opportunity to do something that's actually quite big. I mean, saving a whale is actually something big. It's huge. It also gives people a chance to use their other skills in a way that is quite different to when they normally use it. People who are great people organisers, and they will use those skills at a stranding. We've had people who have done self-defence training, and they've actually had to use that at a stranding. I think the greatest thing is being able to contribute skills you have in a different environment, which is helping marine mammals, and it's a really practical way of doing it.